All right, y'all. I got about 3 intervals into my warm up before I realized a couple of things. The first thing that I realized was, whoa, this is not at all the warm up that I would have planned for myself. If I had said, Michael, here's the warm ups that you're going to do today. And the second thing that I realized was that my voice was changing and that I was implementing some things that I had long thought about but had not yet put into my body. And so before continuing on, I figured, you know what, this would be something good. Maybe there might be some utility in recording this. I might capture a realization or a new breakthrough in real time and not make a video on it after the fact. So let us continue on. Here's what I started doing. I typically would, as I've done before in some videos, do this La Luna, right? Lining up the fifth and on these certain vowels. But what I started doing today was just this. I just picked any random note out of the air, whatever I was feeling. It just happened to be that middle C. And not on a closed or closer vowel of all things, an ah. And it took me about, to those 2 more intervals before I was like, whoa, what am I doing? And what I noticed that I was doing automatically, and that for whatever reason I intuitively went here today, is that this ah is nice and pure and bright, at least how it seems to me. And up here in the passaggio, it's staying really open, which you want up there, or I want up there, because it's expressive, it's thrilling. In particular, I always think of If Ever I Would Leave You. You don't want that to be never would know. You want never would know. And so I like that, for whatever reason, my subconscious is just saying, hey, let's get that nice and open, but still within the column so that we can be useful and contained and keep everything uniform up here. Maybe even, we get dangerous, to the A flat. So, without further ado, stop there on a C. Let's continue up C sharp. Okay, so all I was doing there, the reason that I restarted all that is because I want to get as cleanly and crisply and precisely onto not just the tone, the closure of the folds, but onto the note without any scoop. And one of the things that requires is that there's not too much force, really like the perfect, would the word be occlusion, adduction? The perfect coming together of the folds, which is the coordination that, if I say you, I'm talking to me, that you would like to have to carry throughout an entire phrase. It's going to be nice and balanced, it's not going to be too heavy, it's not going to be too light, and it's going to have all those good qualities of that initial onset, that's the word I was looking for, all the way throughout. And so one of the reasons I think that I intuitively started on this descending scale is because I had a lesson a couple weeks ago where one of the themes, or one of the things that we worked on, Karen and I, was getting this really good shape or sound or whatever for the vowel. And then as you descend later in the phrase, you want to adjust accordingly so that the vowels don't get lazy or they don't devolve, but really it's so that they stay in tune with that best possible sound, which in that instance would have been found at the higher interval, the higher previous interval. So That's another reason that you want to have that perfect onset and all of the perfect balance of weight that comes with it, so that you're not carrying too much or too little load throughout the phrase, so that you can let your vowels become balanced or aligned as you need. So that's what I'm thinking about here. One of the things. Now here, I'm simply just taking out, you can feel tension in the eyebrows. I'm going to do that again because I would like to see how much more, not more support I can give, but how much more fully I can be connected, my muscle connection, to the deepest muscles of support, which admittedly I am now fully focused on more than ever, and with greater precision or greater clarity in where specifically I'm focusing, because I watched a video where Dmitry Borisovsky was like, you know what, I just put my fist right in here and I just pop it out, which is a technique that I have been exposed to before by a few people who really have amazing results and great knowledge, and I have a lot of respect for, but I just didn't fully buy into it. And so in keeping with this year's themes keeping with the themes of learning this year in singing, got a new sensation around breath, around support rather, and this is going to deepen it, literally, figuratively, a little bit more. So that's also what I'm focusing on there, and why I'm restarting this phrase, is because I think I could get deeper support, and that in turn is going to come with a more yawned laryngeal position. I want that larynx suspended. So hopefully there will be, I will feel, if nothing else, more depth in the sound, or that vacuum suction. Maybe, depending on this iPhone or my ability to execute, you will hear it too. Yes. I want to get that little scoop off of that. This is what you get when it's live and it's not coming to you after the fact. This is NG. A useful tool, a real Swiss Army knife of a tool unto itself. Here I'm using that to really coordinate getting right on the note. And as you can hear, necessitated by the cover, I'm not changing anything, it's doing that naturally. So I was surprised to find it. I knew it was gonna happen eventually. We're in a different gear now entirely, and there's new considerations. So, especially important to not carry too much weight, to not blast too hard. So we want to figure out right where that is. desire, go. That is not the primary point of this exercise. Shameful to admit. I'm letting that go. There's other stuff that I can get. Inner dialogue here is very important. There's other stuff in that exercise that I can get right and that I can learn from and that I am implementing consistently besides just that perfect bullseye onset onto the note. Everything else I'm very pleased with. I'm not going to continue hammering that just to get that one onset perfectly and right on, because that is not the point of today's practice. Don't know how I felt about the E flat, I think. Oh. Oh, If I really commit there to making each vowel, I think about it like they're refreshing. And really try to get that ah on the, oh, you know what? No, this is why that's important. I was a little bit confused there because that felt way more open, uncovered, than I used to think about it. But then I remembered on the way up, my cover happened at E, and E flat was surprisingly uncovered. So of course then, if I'm going down, I shouldn't be alarmed or second guess it if that E flat is a little bit less covered. Less covered than it otherwise would be, more covered than it was on the way up. Again, that's part of, I believe, this exercise. Or the point of this exercise, to make sure that the descending vowels are still harmonized with the ones above it. Above them. So the D is going to be fully open. It's also important to remember to sing as if you have the full orchestra there the whole time. Little room against the piano, it's like even loving to use my full voice as I do. It's worth reminding oneself to use your full voice. And you've really got no choice when you're up here, because that's the only way that you're going to get everything underneath you for these notes. And to start up here, part of the benefit of this exercise. Subconscious, look at that. Knew what it was doing. Stopping because I can literally imagine the air blowing apart those folds, which means I'm pushing, and which means I'm pushing. I pushed a little bit less there. Really, the cue that I give myself to when it's that little amount of not pushing that I need to do, and I need to back off pushing that much, and really what I'm seeking to find is this sensation where like the folds are so adducted, but on their thin, I imagine like the front of the edge. I imagine drinking in or like sucking through a straw or something. That's all I was imagining there. But I felt like I didn't have as much of the brightness or snarl, which I use as a guide towards, or an indicator that I've got the formant, aka I'm going to be able to be heard, happen. So let's try that one more time. I'm really going to visualize here that singing on the front of the folds, front edge of the folds, drinking in a little bit, not pushing but still being. I have a master's degree in music. One more time. I can feel that something happens there. It's like I'm pushing, or some tiny amount of laryngeal constriction comes in. I'm just going to explore. I would move on, but I want to explore. That was better, actually. That was removed. I wonder what that was. Going on. Where's that happening? That sudden uncovering. Great, right there, the D. The D is now nice and open on ah. Ah. Yeah, I can feel the same thing again happening there, right on the E, the F and the E. I am pushing. Maybe it's that I am trying to give them as much pressure as I was giving the G. At the top of the range, gassy. At the top of the range, the amount of pressure, every little click covers so much more ground than a little clip would down at the bottom. It's like the effort to go from F to G up top is so much greater than F, G down here. I could feel even there white noise coming through, folds blasting apart. Can still feel them blasting apart. It's like I'm at 95% abduction on that note. Okay, let's see if I just start there. Interesting. The access to the note is easy, reliable, not fatiguing. There's something about the coordination of the folds up there that is frustrating. Up until this point, I have not been thinking about making any space. I've been looking for the toothpaste squeezy-ish sensation or something related. As long as I've got a little bit of that, I know I'm doing well. At this point, I try to let myself forget about all technical things unless needed. And that it's better just to be like, just hear the note, go for it, leap without fear. And the same is similar to how sometimes if you have text and not just warm up, you can really just focus on the text, whatever that means to you. For me, it's a couple things, or that cues in a couple of things to navigate through a tricky passage or to make something happen. In singing, there's such a risk of that. I've seen it pop up now a couple times on various platforms. Maybe it's an adage or maybe it's an example, I don't know what, of psychology around the diminishing returns of self-examination, where it's like you ask a centipede which of its legs is, or how it moves, what order it moves its legs, something around centipede and its legs. And it's like, oh, it can't do it. When it starts thinking about each one individually, it just goes, it just is. It's that's how I'm trying to approach singing, music learning, everything, this go around in this chapter of my life with this basically new brain, and where the stakes are much different or less than they were. So I'm just doing it again because it feels good and I want to lock it down. No change of thoughts. Oh! Not good. But there nonetheless, which for me is a big win. And the stuff on the way down was also good, which is maybe it wasn't as not good as I thought. Going here to get that brightness, the correct onset. It's like giving more pressure and having more commitment, but with less attempt to hold or control here. If that makes sense. precise feeling ooh. No qualms in my mind about that. That was an ooh. D, which if you'll remember was the one that was reliably nice and open for that ah. So if we want to take that advice of lining things up off of the ooh, let's see what happens if I go from this ooh to an ah. We like. Same thing. Oh, maybe it does turn. You know what? I don't know. Not the point. I'm not going to get distracted. It's not going as well as I wanted to. Let's see if I can go up and then revisit. It's like lift a heavier weight, go try a lighter one that you were previously struggling with. That lighter one will feel lighter. That video of Pavarotti's like, suspect a strangle, no? Don't even need to suspect, it was there. We'll leave it there. I think we learned. Go forth and speak boldly.